Good day, everyone. My name is Roger Jr. Claros, and today I will be going to discuss to you about the functional notional approach of teaching grammar. But first, before we go into the main topic of mine, let me first read the learning objectives. At the end of the discussion, students will be able to understand the core principles of the functional notional approach, focusing on how it emphasizes communication over traditional grammar rules. Identify and differentiate between notions, concepts, and functions, communicative acts in language use. And lastly, demonstrate understanding of the functional notional approach by answering questions related to its key concepts, such as communicative functions and real-life application in a multiple-choice quiz. To fully understand what is the functional notional approach in teaching grammar, so let us first know what is the history of it. So, the functional notional approach was being introduced during 1972 by the British linguist named David Wilkins, or also known as D.A. Wilkins. This approach shifted the way of teaching grammar from traditional teaching grammar into a communicative way of teaching grammar. His 1976 report titled Notional Syllables categorized language based on the notions, and it talks about quality, location, and time, and the functions, which talks about making requests and offers and etc. on how the language being used, and also his work. The functional notional approach, is being used by the Council of Europe to create a communicative language syllabuses specifying necessary communicative functions. In short, Wilkins' work marked a significant shift in language teaching, emphasizing the importance of understanding how language functions in communication rather than just learning grammar rules. The next is the development of functional syllabuses. So his second work was titled the functional syllabuses, and it begins to appear by the late 1970s, and it organized by individual functions and necessary exponents, like for example, can I or could you in making a request. And these syllabuses often include communicative exercise like pair work and role plays. So, functional syllabuses allow learners to practice real-life language use, focusing on the function and exponents relevant to their communication needs. Now, to fully understand what is the functional notional approach, let's break down the two root words of this approach, which is the functions and notions. So let's first define the notion. So the notions refers to the meaning elements expressed through various parts of speech, like for example, noun, pronoun, verb, adverb, and adjectives. And its concept can be specific, like for example, dog, the house, or can be general, like time, emotion, and etc. While the functions, it is the communicative acts to achieve purposes involving interaction. And for example, it include suggesting, promising, apologizing, inviting, and so many other language usage. So in short, notions refers to the underlying concepts being communicated, while while functions are the specific communicative goals that students need to achieve, which help contextualize grammar teaching. And now there are two um, elements that can affect the function of the language, which is the situations and exponents. Now let us know the situations first. The situation can be affect the language use or the formality and informality of language, and this include number one is the person involved. Like for example, if you are who 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 are um, who are you communicating with. Like for example, if you are just communicating with your friend, then you can use informal language. But if you are communicating with your teacher or professor, you can use formal language, right? And the second is the location, where was the communication occurs, right? Like for example, in outside of your house, but in socializing with another people, you can use informal language. And if you are at the office, in school, you will use a formal language. The third is the time, and the fourth is the topic, and that four are kind of or that four situation can affect the formality and informality of language or the function of language. The next is the exponents. Exponents refers to the language utterances stemming from the functions and situations and topics, like how you will going to express the words or the phrase. And in exponents also there are two elements, which is the code and code switching. The code refers to the language shared by the community, while the code switching is a change in code during the speech and to convey and build a social relation. Now, for example, the code switching refers to the change of language or the appropriate language that you will use in communicating with another else. Like for example, if you are communicating with your kabarangay, diba? You are just using your code or the main language that you are using. While in code switching, for example, if you are going to talk about or to communicate with another person in another in another place or location, you will use or you will switch a language for you to be able to effectively communicate with them and communicate with them accordingly. So understanding the context of situations help learners see how language varies based on who is involved, where is the interaction occurs, and what is discussed. And exponents represents the actual phrases used to express functions. Now I have here two examples about how the language being used and how the situation affect the usage of language. First example is about requesting an extension situation. A student asks their professors or their professor for more time to complete an assignment. Student: good afternoon, professor. I'm having trouble finishing the assignment on time. Could I have an extension until Monday? Professor: I understood. Yes, I can give you an extension until Monday. Then students: thank you very much. Then The second example is about asking a friend for a ride situation. A student asks their friend for a ride. Friend A, hey, can you give me a ride to the mall this afternoon? Friend B, sure. What time? Friend A, around 3 p.m. Thanks a lot. Now, if you are going to notice the differences between the two examples, it affects the usage of language or the function of language based on in situation, right? Because in situation A, um, that the students are talking with a professor, which is needed to use a formal language, while in the second example, the person is talking with her friend or his friend for a ride, which is only required to use informal language. And now let's proceed to the next slide. The slide um, talks about functional categories of language. So, um, Mari Finucciaro um, outlined 5 functional categories in language, and this includes the personal. According to her, personal categories is about expressing thoughts and feelings. For example, saying, I'm happy. That is personal. And interpersonal, according to her, is about establishing relationship. Like, for example, asking someone if how is she or how is he, diba? That is interpersonal, according to Marie. And then the third one is directive, which is refers to influencing actions, like like requesting, like for example, please close the door. That is directive. You are influencing someone's to make an action. And referential is about reporting facts or telling facts or factual information. Like for example, she went to the store yesterday. And then the last one is imaginative, which is refers to the creative expression. Like for examples, let's write a story together. It showcases the imaginative way of communication. According to her, each category represents different ways that language is used to communicate for various purposes, essential in language instruction. In conclusion, the functional-notional approach shifts the focus from grammar rules to communicative competence, since the functional-notional approach are is an approach that shifts the way of teaching grammar from traditional way, which is focusing on grammar rules, into communicative way, which is focusing in communicative competence. The second is it teaches language as a tool for real life situation, making it practical, relevant, and engaging. And also, teachers can implement this approach through role-playing dialogues and communicative exercises to help students develop both grammatical accuracy and fluency. So in short, the functional-notional approach offers a modern method for teaching grammar, emphasizing real-life communication, which is crucial for student success in language use. And that will be all. Thank you.